Okay, part number 6. We are almost at the end of the series. Well, it's kind of the end already. Tires. We're going to be covering tires. More specifically, it's about the tire pressures. How much do you want to run? How low? How high? When do you go higher? When do you go lower? How do they affect the car's handling and behavior? We're going to cover that right now in this part of this video. So, let's see. Tire pressures at the early part of the game, when the game was released, early middle last year, the early cycle of the game, it was similar to F1 2022, no, F1 21, where you used to run high tire pressures. The reason is because when your tire temperatures hit around 104 105, that's where you start to lose grip. But if you keep it between 100 and 101 102, you still have maximum amount of grip coming from the tires. Ideally around 99 100, that's where you get ideal grip and lap time out of your tires. But as always, Codis love to screw things up, and they change things up, and they say, this is unrealistic, blah blah blah, unrealistically high pressures and whatnot. So they've made it that the moment you reach 99 or 100 degrees Celsius on your tire temperatures, you will start to lose grip from the tires. So you will not be overheating the tires just yet, but you'll start to lose performance from your tires. So which means you might be half a second or 1 second slower than someone else, without even having overheating tires. The moment you reach 102 103 104 105, that's like the end of your race. You'll have to go into the pits. There's no other way of recovering your tire temperatures other than to just get rid of it. Hey, so what that has done is the current meta in F1 22 is to run, well, as close to minimum tire pressures across all tracks. This is the safest way. You can make sure you will not have any overheating issues in any track, any condition, dry, wet, inters, high downforce, low downforce, everything will be all right. There are some tracks which are more prone to heating up the tires quicker. Say for example, Spain, for example, it's a very high downforce circuit, a lot of high speed long corners, which puts a lot of strain on the tires. This is going to heat up your tires much quicker. Whereas if you compare to some place like Monza, which is just, well, I don't know, long straights, a few braking zones, and long straights again, so you don't really put that much stress on the tires, so they don't heat up that quickly. Downforce also plays a factor into how quickly you heat up your tires. The more downforce you run, the more wings you run, basically more aerodynamics that you run in your car, the faster or easier it is to heat up your tires to get them up to the operating temperature. The lower your downforce, the longer is it going to take. Now, speaking of operating temperature, when you go into the pits, you fit on the soft tires, mediums, or hards. Any of the dry compounds, they're going to start off at 70 degrees Celsius. By the time you leave the pit lane, it may drop down to 69 68, depending on how long the pit lane is, and if you're the first team in the pit lane like Mercedes is. So just roughly, let's keep it at 70 degrees Celsius when you leave the box, and on the start of the formation lap, it's also going to be at 70 degrees. So when you go out on track, you're going to have to be a bit more careful on your out laps, usually even for qualifying or in a race on the out lap of your pit stop. So to make sure that you do not push the car too much, otherwise your cold tires will not give you the grip that you need to make the lap. So take it easy. You will usually lose 2 to 3 seconds from your personal best on the cold tires before they warm up in lap or two. Now, how do you speed up the tire warming process? Putting downforce aside, the only other way you can warm up your tires quicker is, one, you spin the car. Go out on track, just do a 360, and then there you go, your tires are much warmer much quicker. But that's not ideal. That's not what you're going to be doing. You'll be losing even more time from a spin on track. So realistically, we're speaking about tire pressures over here. You want to make sure, if it's a track like Monza or Baku, where your tire temperatures start off with, let's start off with the right way to approach how to find the correct tire temperatures. So you get a setup, you go into Grand Prix mode, your practice mode, you put in minimum tire pressures, and then you go out for like 5 laps, 10 laps, 15 laps on heavy fuel or light fuel or whatever it is. you take on hard tires with full race fuel and you see your tire temperatures are below 90, that's where you know you may have to raise your tire temperatures just by 1 or 2 clicks of pressure. So when you say clicks, this is one click, you know, and this is the second click, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10 clicks that you can do. So always start off with minimum tire pressures when you are practicing. To find out the ideal tire temperatures, you have to, my tip is to take hard tires and the maximum race fuel that you can take, and then go out on track and see, you know, in the first 5 or 6 laps, what are the tire temperatures that you're getting on your tire screen on your MFD. So if the core temperatures are, you know, around 85 to 90, it is still somewhat okay. You have the grip, but it's not going to be optimal. 90 plus, closer to 93, 94 is where you'll get the optimal grip, from what I can understand. You want it to be around 90, 91, 92, around those. Try not to go higher than 95. That's where you'll start to feel a bit sketchy with the grip. So let's say I've done 5 laps, 10 laps, and then my rear tire temperatures are stuck at 89 or 88 degrees Celsius. Then I'll increase the tire pressure maybe by 2 clicks and try that out again. If then my tire temperatures stay around 90, 91, 92, then I'll be happy with these tire pressures. Okay, now what does low pressure do to your grip? What does high pressure do to your grip and stability? Lower pressures gives you more grip. All right, so on the front tires, it gives you more grip, meaning it's easier to take corners, slower corners. Higher pressures, on the other hand, on the front, gives you more stability on the front tires. Same thing on the rears. All right, if you have less pressure on the rear, it gives you more grip, especially on acceleration, slow speed corners, traction zones. You get more grip coming out of those corners. If you go higher, it gives you stability in more high speed corners, medium to high speed corners. Your car will be more stable on power and even on braking. Generally in this game, you still want to be running minimum front pressures, and on the rears, I'd say 2 is very safe to run. 2 clicks of tire pressure on the rear is just enough for every track. What else can they do? Tire pressures also directly affect how much tire wear you get. So higher tire pressures, just a rule of thumb, higher tire pressures will mean you get less tire wear, but at the cost of increased tire temperature. If your tire temperatures are too hot, then it's going to start losing you time. You're going to start wearing out tires even more. So it is not beneficial at all to run maximum tire pressures like this. Okay, whereas if you run minimum pressures all across the 4 tires, minimum pressures will make sure you get the best amount of grip from all the tires. But minimum pressure means you will get more tire wear, right? Less tire temperatures, which is the thing that we need, but you'll be, you know, you have to deal with slightly more tire wear, but that's what everyone has to deal with in this game. So everyone's on an equal footing around here. So all you have to do is be a little bit more smoother. You know, if you're stuck behind someone, just don't have to make aggressive moves, aggressive turns into corners. Just stay within the DRS range, within half a second or 1 second, and you'll be fine. Save your tires just a little bit more through your driving style, and then later on in the stint, once your tires have more life, you'll be faster than the others. Okay, so there you go. If you feel like, you know, in some races like Monza, I have tried something crazy like this, 5 clicks on the front and then you know, maybe even 8 clicks on the rear. It kind of works actually on the hard tires if you want to take this. What this does is it gives me more stability in high speed, especially here in Monza, because we don't have that much downforce in the car. So I will need that mechanical stability from the tires. Higher tire pressures, like I said, gives you more stability in high speed. So if you go through corners like Lesmo 1, Lesmo 2, pretty much the entire Sector 2 and Sector 3 of Monza, the car feels more stable on turn-in and acceleration and even on braking. It also helps to reduce tire wear as you go into the race. Now, we are done talking about the dry tires. That pretty much covers the dries as well. For the wet tires and the intermediate tires especially. So the intermediates, they when you fit on the intermediates, regardless if they are from the pits or on the grid, they're always going to be already in their operating range of, I think it's about 75 degrees Celsius. That's where they are operating at their best range. They will start to overheat when they reach 85 degrees Celsius on the intermediates. So when is the right time to pit for dry tires in a changing condition? When you see your tires are like hitting 83, 84 and 85 degrees Celsius, that's when it's a good idea to switch to the dry tires. And for wet tires, when do you want to change it to intermediate? So wet tires, they can operate at an even lower temperature range, so around uh, 50 onwards they will start working. Ideally you want them to be around 60, 65, and anything, I think, right around 70 they start to overheat, so you want to make sure they are just around 65, 66, just around there. I might be wrong, but I'll have to check back because I haven't done wet races in a long while. But the moment you see on your screen that the wet tires are starting to turn slightly greenish yellow, that's when you know they are overheating. That's when it is best time to go on to the intermediates, because they have a higher operating tire temperature range. And when the inters start hitting at 75, that 83, 84, 85, that's where you go to the dry tires, where they start to operate at around 80 plus to 100 degrees Celsius. So yeah, there you go. And well, that's all you need to know about tire pressures. Let's just quickly recap what everything does. Low tire pressures means less tire temperatures, but it also comes at a cost of slightly increased tire wear. Higher tire pressures means you get less tire wear, but at the cost of slightly or even more tire temperatures. So the best balance in this game is to leave the tire pressures on the front at minimum and on the rears also at minimum, or maybe at most 2 or 3 clicks. That's all you need. Ideally you want to keep the dry tires within 90 to 94, 95 degrees Celsius, and you want to keep the intermediates around 75 to 80 degrees Celsius, the wets around 60 to 65, 66, around there. So those are the temperatures you need to remember. And yes, higher tire pressures may not be the way to go anymore already, but on some tracks where there's a lot of straight line or there's very little force going through the tires, like Monza, Baku, and let's just take another track. Maybe, I don't know, I can't remember. Just these two comes to my mind, Monza and Baku, because it's long straights and slow corners, so you do not heat up your tires that much, and you also run very low downforce. So it is somewhat beneficial to run slightly higher pressures so that your tires are in the right operating range, about 90 to 93 degrees Celsius. The downside of running higher tire pressure is, well, like I said, other than temperatures going higher and possibly giving you more tire wear from tire degradation, higher pressure means less grip in slow speed. So if it's a slow track like Baku, you probably want to be running lower pressure so that you get more grip in the slow corners, whereas in a high speed track, maybe like higher speed corners track, maybe like Austria for example, there's a lot of straights, but at the same time there's a lot of high speed corners. You may want to be running 1 or 2 clicks higher so that you get a better response in high speed. So higher tire pressures, more stable in high speed. Lower tire pressures are better in slow speed. So you need to find the balance once again. Right? If you're confused by everything, TLDR, TLDW, whatever, minimum front pressures, 2 clicks on the rear, you'll be fine. That's it about tire pressures. Any questions, leave it in the comments, and we will entertain that as the questions come in. You can also join my Discord server, which I don't really do much over there other than just reply if someone asks some questions. Everything else that you need to watch is on YouTube or on Twitch, and yeah, you can always reach me out on Discord and or in these comment sections. I will see y'all in part 7, where we will discuss on how do we put all these 6 elements together into making a setup that suits your driving style. Yep, take care everyone, stay safe, and goodbye.